Good evening. The Liberal Democrat leader of Oldham Council, on the 1-year anniversary of the breaking of the Grooming Gang scandal, would rather talk about 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. Isn't it time for a bit of honesty?
We need honesty in politics today. Straight talking. A bit more of a Christian-like attitude and less of the slanging.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2000, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Arood Shah, Abdul Jabbar, Sean Fielding, Shisha Bars, Riaz Ahmed, Buying Sweets, Chohan and Mushtaq, Land on the Cheap, Dr. CAROLYN WILKINS, Under Attack, Another No Comment, Shabir Ahmed, Glodic Baths, Debbie Kashmir, On the Run, Don't Dare Complain, They'll Call You a Racist Son. The cartels control the postal votes and the paedophiles run free. Welcome to Oldham, home to corrupt councillors and their childhood criminal friends. And in control of it all, at the top of the tree, Jim McMahon, the samosa nibbling MP. Still silent on how he used the funeral of the butchered soldier, Lee Rigby. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Cartel Town. Grooming gangs. Postal vote fraud. Paedophile protectors. Still barefaced lies. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Good evening. Sunday night, time for the rabble to make an appearance. Greetings to my 9 followers. I'm surprised you're not in prison or been arrested for attending some oh, isn't it great? Isn't it great? We now know who the real racists are, don't we, Jim? It's you, Sean. It's you, Jim McMahon. It's you, Angela Rayner. You and your party, you are the real racists. Proven. Now proven. No, it's not just, I don't no longer just have to make an allegation or an accusation that you're a bunch of racists. It's now proven you're a bunch of racists. Racist scum. That's what you are. Anyway, it is our 1-year anniversary, and it is, 1 year since this pretty much exploded, thanks to the bravery of one woman, really. Debbie Barratt-Cole. She's currently sat in my guest room there. I've got a new kind of setup where I'm not using Skype, so I'm sure it'll go wrong, but we tried it earlier. But this means Debbie can actually see all of your posts and all of your comments while she's on, so you can have a bit more interaction. So fingers crossed it works. It worked this morning, but anyway, let's get going. I'm with Cyril Smith. Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm with Cyril Smith.
We need honesty in politics today. Straight talking. A bit more of a Christian-like attitude and less of the slanging.
Do not fear them.
What do you reckon? Are we with Cyril Smith on that? Honesty in politics today. Honesty. Anyway, brilliant. Same introductory routine I need to do. Otherwise, Moya will text me and my phone will bleep and he'll phone me up afterwards and tell me off. So please, if we can, subscribe to the channel on Facebook, share the transmission. By all means, comment on it on the side. It's set up in such a way where some of your comments will automatically come up on the screen, or in certain scenes I'll be dragging them across. So that's how it works. And if your comments are missing, as I've found out afterwards, it's because you're blocked. Okay, so it's as simple as that. If some of your comments are missing, I'm told, I got in touch with Facebook and Restream and all of the companies I work with to make this happen, and said, well, if sometimes the comments don't come up here, the likelihood is you've blocked them. We already know they have been relentlessly trying to stop these transmissions. So why would it surprise anyone that they're now not only viewing at what we are doing, but they're also trying to sabotage what we're doing? Would it surprise anyone? It doesn't surprise me at all. So let me put this widget up to say hello to people. So that should come up now, and your messages will come up. And please, it's like I'm begging every week, and well, I have no shame that way. This is your channel. If we can keep this going, the only reason we can keep broadcasting is because you guys are helping me pay for the monthly subs to keep the channel operating. We need money for all the various subscriptions that we use to broadcast, and that's putting aside all the equipment that I've had to beg, borrow, steal, and buy, and try and avoid looking at bills to see how much I've had to spend on this stuff. So yes, please, if you can, go on the Patreon page and donate £1. That's all I ask. I'd donate £1. If you can donate more, please, but if you can donate £1, yeah. Hey, Paul, straight at it, I see. Brilliant, Paul. Hopefully you'll be in the town hall, mate, this time next year, and you can ask people yourself. So let's get on with it, shall we? Well, we've got a council meeting coming up on Wednesday, haven't we? And Brian Hobin has been working tirelessly to let me get rid of this and get rid of this. Brian Hobin has been working tirelessly to try and get his motion nothing more than voted on. And all he's asking for is a recorded vote. So the councillors that we elect go online, vote in public. So there's nothing hidden in an open and transparent democracy. And we know what's going on. We know whether they will vote with us on bringing in an independent inquiry, referring the matter to the government, not to my mates or to Debbie or 10 of us, but actually referring the matter to the government, and so the government bring in a team of experts to investigate what's gone in Oldham, because we've had a year, and in the year we've seen nothing apart from, I think I counted 12 sentences in the report, which I'll go through later on. It is a disgraceful affair. So let's bring up what's going on and why I put up, why I'm picking on Howard Sykes today. And I am picking on Howard Sykes because I think his behaviour has been disgraceful. And that disgraceful behaviour has been just the example of that is he's working now hand in glove with not just with the Labour Party and the Evening Cron. He's working hand in glove with these people to keep news of what's gone on in Oldham secret. And this is a man who now, in all those years he's been a councillor, it's not been an issue for him. But now he's decided 20-mile-an-hour speed limit is what we all need to focus on at the next council meeting. Now let me bring up these minutes and explain to people exactly what's going on. So just bear with me 1 second whilst I do this. Right, I am hoping my screen has changed and you are seeing me in the bottom left corner, and you're seeing what is basically the council's webpage for the agenda for Wednesday's meeting. Now, It's a long affair from 6 o'clock till 9:30 or so, give or take, and they go through it in a certain order. Now you'll see 1 to 6 is the council sort of business. 7, he's apparently got an annual statement. So Sean Fielding is issuing an annual statement. I wonder in his annual statement whether he'll issue... Yeah, do you think Spindles, will he issue? Nah, he won't issue a statement on how much of our money is wasted on Spindles. And then there's something on the Youth Council. But the Youth Council being nothing but a Labour Council proxy sort of machine, which I've followed the Youth Council, and I'm actually really disappointed with the politicisation, with a very left-wing, ultra-left-wing politicisation, brainwashing, I'd even suggest, I'd use the term. But they've got a time limit of 20 minutes, but the young people that they are, they'd not submitted the papers, so nothing neither. And then we have questions to the leader and cabinet, so that's 30 minutes. Public questions is 15 minutes. So we've only got 30 minutes, right? So the 30 minutes is here. The notice of opposition business. And I'll just put a blue highlight over that if you can see that. Yeah. Notice of opposition business. Now, this is where it gets very, very murky. Remember, Sean Fielding has already admitted to a secret pact between himself and the leader of the opposition, Howard Sykes, and also John Hudson. But he's clearly been whipped into line by the younger Tories who aren't standing for any of this nonsense. So this is what Howard Sykes and his friends, and I'm going to name every one of these Lib Dems at some point, have done. They have packed the notice of opposition business with not just one, not just 2 motions, but they've packed it. And here's the full page. They've packed it with 3 motions. Now I'll go through all 3 motions. Now, first of all, what I did was I went on the historical agenda items of the council. And the historical agenda item in terms of opposition business, the Lib Dems have only ever had 1, at a maximum 2 motions. They've never had 3 motions on there. Now, we've tried to get the running order out of the council in terms of when these motions were submitted, because we know Brian Hoban submitted his ages ago, and we know the council knew about that. I mean, we referenced it specifically. Brian referenced it specifically at the last meeting, and the mayor acknowledged it. Yet it appears as motion 4. And remember, there's only half an hour for this. So this is the council. So this is the Lib Dems and the Labour Party with the council officers playing games. Deja vu? Sound familiar, Debbie, when you come on? I think you'll, I think so, don't you? So the first thing he wants to talk about, and it's Councillor Sykes' motion, and it's moved by Councillor Williamson, who seconded it. The speed limits on Britain's residential roads are 60% higher than Europe. Blah, blah, blah. He wants a reduction in the speed limit, right? And what he wants, and this is where you know they're playing silly buggers. So I haven't got an opinion on 20 mile an hour speed limits or 30 mile an hour speed limits. I think there are places where it makes sense and times where it makes sense, like most of us. But he's decided this is important. This is what matters the most right now. And he wants to seek in principle to implement a borough-wide 20 mile per hour speed limit on residential roads, and to ask the Overview and Scrutiny Board to look again at the practicalities and timescales of introducing such a scheme in consultation with the 20's Plenty campaign for consideration by full council at the earliest possible opportunity. The problem with this immediately is, if you bring a motion like this to the council, you would not seek in principle an implementation of a borough-wide. You'd go and do your groundwork first. This is a hastily put together gerrymandering activity motion. Absolutely. Because he wants to ask the Overview and Scrutiny Board to look again at the practicalities and timescale. If I wanted to take something to a full council meeting, Do you not think I would know beforehand what the practicalities and timescales are? So when the council have a vote, they can make an informed decision with an understanding of what all of this is. Nah, you're wasting time, Howard Sykes, and I think I know why you're wasting time, and I think the entire town now knows why you're wasting time. But just wasn't enough. Councillor Al Hamdani, the former Lib Dem parliamentary candidate, no less, has got a motion with Councillor Hazel Gloucester. Let's make street harassment a crime. Morons. Absolute morons. They take the town for fools. The local council cannot make anything a crime. Okay? And what they want making a crime, that no one I know would object to, it shouldn't happen like this. It just shouldn't. And you can see here now, the council resolves. So I'll just highlight this so you can see it. They want a vote at a full council meeting where the time is limited to 30 minutes, where they encourage all elected members and residents to sign a petition. They want to use up time at a council meeting to have you sign a petition. And then they want the chief executive to write to the Home Secretary and to write to the 3 MPs. Now, hold on a second. We pay her the best part of £200,000 a year. We probably pay her more. Does she need permission for every letter she writes? No. And then they want to ask schools, academies and colleges in the borough to each develop a clear policy on tackling harassment. No, schools, academies and colleges in the borough right now have got something far more serious to deal with, which is called COVID, and trying to educate their kids and trying to catch up and all the rest of that. Why would you right now want to give them something else to do? Why would you want to give these teachers something else to do on top of everything else they're having to do as a consequence of COVID? Our schools have been shut for the best part of 6 months. Kids are playing catch up. Absolute nonsense. Ask schools to include education around public sexual harassment. Do you not think schools are already doing this? Have you audited schools to check if they're not doing this? Because every school I know for the last 20 years, 30 years, have been working on sexual harassment. You think we're stupid, don't we, Sam Al-Hamdani? Sam Al-Hamdani wants to also... Oh, by the way, yes. He wants to become your MP. Just so you know, that man wants to become your MP. He's the chairman of the Lib Dems. That's motion number 2. Now, suddenly, and this could only have happened last week because of the timing, because it links to Marcus Rashford stuff. Right at the end, they've thrown in a third motion. Someone in the council would have sat down and thought, oh, maybe Brian Hoban's motion will get in. We need a third motion. So they've done what they've never done before. Councillor Harkness and Councillor Hamblett. I'm going to put your pictures up in a minute, lads, so the entire town can see you for what you are. You want the council. See, it's not, do you see? Look, have a look at this. Do you see here? The council resolves to, the council recognises, it's written out. Do you see how motion 2 has a structure to it? The council recognises, the council resolves. Do you see how motion number 1, the council recognises, the council resolves? Motion number 3, so hastily put together, there's not even anything in there as to what the council recognises or the council resolves. It's just rushed. Get it in there. Stop us having a vote on the grooming gangs. And what have they done? The disgraceful human beings that these people are, they've tried to exploit Marcus Rashford and his campaign for feeding children. Now, I don't care about what people say about the rights and wrongs of the government not paying for free school meals during the summer holidays and stuff like that. What I do accept is that the people of our town, the businesses of our town have all come forward and made sure that there's enough out there for our kids to eat. So no one need go hungry. So we know that, right? And these councillors, you've got to make sense with it. Here it is. The council resolved to ask chief executives to write to. So they want to tie up a full council meeting having a letter written to Marcus Rashford. Sorry, that is my daughter who's not going to... apologies for that. She knows she does know I'm on this thing on a Sunday night, so I have no idea why she decided to call. Probably because she's back in school tomorrow. Let me get back to this. Marcus Rashford. They want to write a letter to him. And they want to write a letter to Mr. Henry Dimbley at the National Food Strategy. And they want to write a letter to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And they want to write a letter to the local MPs. They're resolving that a council meeting is spent writing letters, approving the writing of letters. Remember when we had that nonsense about the needing for £20 million more? Do you remember if they resolved to write a letter for that? Do you remember when we bought spindles last week? That will probably impact upon us for millions more than any of this stuff, and impact us for not just our lifetimes, but our children and our grandchildren's lifetime in paying this money back. Did they pass a motion on that? These people are playing games. And what they're doing is they're playing games because they want to avoid this motion. And this motion is very simple. That the independent public inquiry into child sex education within Oldham Metropolitan Borough Council has failed. And not only has it failed, it's a cover-up, because we know where it started. It started with the claim that it was barefaced lies, and it started with the claim that I was going to be put in prison. And legal action was going to be taken against me for raising this matter. Well, Jim, you're a very, very powerful MP. You've got the might of the Labour Party behind you. I'm still here, lad. Not only are you lot racists, proven racists, you're also paedophile protectors, aren't you? I'm not making the allegation anymore. It's a confirmed fact. Because look what we did with Rod Blythe. The council hid the news from the members of the public. This is a 25-year councillor, and the council hid it. And the council clearly, the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, and the officers in the council are clearly all working together. And not only are they working together, what we've got is, and these are the guys, let's put them up. Let's put their pictures up. These are the Lib Dems. Sam Al-Hamdani from Saddleworth West and Lees. Chris Gloucester and his wife Hazel Gloucester, both from Shaw. Louis Hamlet, Crompton. Garth Harkness, Saddleworth North. Dave Murphy, Crompton. Howard Sykes, MBE, Shaw. And Diane Williamson, Crompton. These are the Lib Dems that are working hand in glove with the council and the Labour Party to prevent Brian Hoban from having his motion debated in exactly the same style as they prevented Debbie Cole a year ago from speaking, asking a question. Why? Why? Why, Howard Sykes? Could it be? Could it be something to do with this?
He was one of the Liberal Party's most senior MPs and a leading figure in national politics. But Cyril Smith was a serial paedophile who abused dozens of young boys and was never prosecuted. Tonight, new evidence has emerged revealing how MI5 and Special Branch buried his crimes. An investigation for Channel 4's Dispatches programme Tonight has uncovered a police file which accuses him of a sordid series of indecent episodes with young boys. It was handed to prosecutors, but then hidden and locked away for more than 4 decades. Smith went on abusing for years. He'd asked further questions about the way the Liberal Democrats handle such scandals. So soon after this programme revealed sexual harassment allegations against the party's former chief executive, Lord Reynard. Liz McKean has this exclusive report.
Cyril Smith was a celebrated figure who wooed the voters. He was Rochdale's Liberal MP during the 70s and 80s. His popularity made him one of the country's most high-profile politicians. Smith's name resurfaced last year during the Savile scandal, which led to a re-examination of the way sex abuse cases are handled and their victims dealt with. The Crown Prosecution Service admitted the MP should have been charged in his lifetime. A film for Dispatches tonight will show just how many opportunities were missed to stop him. A striking feature of Smith's case is that many of his victims complained at the time. One who first spoke to police nearly 50 years ago says the lack of action has driven him to speak out publicly.
So then I was stood there naked then towards him. He looked me up and down and he ran his hands all up and down my thighs and inside my legs and touched my private parts.
As a teenager, Kevin Griffiths lived at Cambridge House, a hostel set up by Smith in Rochdale, supposedly to help boys in need.
It wasn't right. I know it wasn't right, but I couldn't do nothing about it.
This former detective, Jack Tasker, was one of the first police officers to investigate Smith. He was convinced of his guilt.
He denied the sexual content and said to her, and he said, well, there might have been a little bit of chastisement for things he'd done wrong. And we asked him to explain that. He said, a smack.
From what you've said, either Cyril Smith was lying or the 8 victims at Cambridge House
were lying, yes. I didn't think they were lying.
Lancashire Police carried out several investigations in the late 1960s and compiled this 80-page file kept from the public until tonight. This shows the police were more than ready to prosecute him. And yet they weren't able to. In the file, police complain of veiled threats from local Liberals. Smith himself is accused of pressurising witnesses to withdraw their statements. The then local MP, Jack McCann, even spoke to the Director of Public Prosecutions on Smith's behalf, and shortly afterwards the case was dropped. So the police file, for all its detail and conviction, was marked NFA, no further action, not in the public interest. Instead, it was locked away in a safe at Special Branch, which usually deals with national security.
I could not understand at the time why a criminal file should come into the Special Branch offices to be kept in a locked safe.
The file didn't stay there long. Smith's political star was rising.
We need honesty in politics today. Straight talking. A bit more of a Christian-like attitude and less of the slanging.
In 1977, the Liberals were helping to keep the Labour government in power, and MI5 now took an interest in Smith's background. Tony Robinson took their call.
We understand that you have a file on Mr. Cyril Smith, the Liberal MP for Rochdale. Yes, we want that file sending down to this office this date by special courier.
So by now, Lancashire Police, Special Branch and MI5 all knew about the extensive allegations. The officer who first investigated Smith feels let down.
People say the police didn't care and they weren't interested. Well, quite frankly, we did care and we were interested. But I'm afraid there were very powerful people making sure that we didn't succeed.
And in Rochdale, the rumours about Smith finally found their way into print 10 years after the initial police investigation. This is when his Westminster colleagues were made aware of them. The Liberal Party leader, David Steele, was asked to comment. His office responded,
"It's not a very friendly gesture, publishing that. All he seems to have done is spank a few bare bottoms."
Lord Steele says that he asked Smith about the allegations and accepted his denial of wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Smith had helped set up another institution in Rochdale, Knollview School. It's where, in a further echo of Savile, he also had the keys. And where, when he was 8, Chris Marshall became Smith's youngest known victim.
They had the evidence to stop him, didn't they? They was given enough evidence, they knew what he was up to.
Tonight comes further evidence of the scale of Smith's offending. In the last year, a major Met Police investigation has focused on a former hotel in southwest London, Elm Guest House, where during the 1980s a paedophile ring was reportedly active. After much speculation online, the Met Police have confirmed to us tonight that Cyril Smith was a visitor there. There's no suggestion that Smith's Westminster colleagues knew anything about these further allegations. The Liberal Democrats say they have no paperwork on Smith. And Lord Steele says he received no complaints against Smith when a Liberal MP. In 1988, again like Savile, Smith received a knighthood. His party leader would have been consulted. And when Smith died 3 years ago, senior colleagues paid rich tribute.
But I think of him as a big-hearted man, because in everything he did, he gave 105%.
He really was quite literally a larger-than-life figure, and he will be sorely, sorely missed.
People are now asking why so many opportunities were missed to stop Smith. Last year, the Lib Dem leader Nick Clegg said Smith should have been more thoroughly investigated at the time. But the solicitor working with Smith's victims says there are questions to answer.
The victims, with justification, could be saying to the Liberals, hang on a minute, we were abused by your man. What are you going to do about it?
The Liberal Democrats are already facing embarrassment after they were accused in a Channel 4 news report of sitting on complaints of sexual harassment against one of their most senior and powerful officers, Lord Reynard. Now, those damaged by Sir Cyril Smith want recognition of who he really was.
It could have been stopped, and we won't be in this position where me and you are having this conversation about somebody that has destroyed probably hundreds of lives.
Okay, so that is a few years old, and the reason I wanted to show you is because of my suspicions as to why the Lib Dems are involved. And these suspicions are based upon, in my opinion, they're based upon evidence. So you should see my screen again, and the screen should show, first of all, this. This is from 2010. It describes, and from the Oldham Evening Cron, tribute to political giant Sir Cyril. They didn't even bother with his surname, Sir Cyril. Famously large Sir Cyril Smith was the Liberal and later Liberal Democrat MP for the town from 1972 until retiring in 1992. Okay? Oldham Council leader. So at the time, the man was a leader. Howard Sykes had known Sir Cyril for 20 years and said, I regard Cyril as one of my friends. He was a stalwart, not always popular, and I did not always agree with everything he said. He would probably think more of me for that rather than less. On record, I regard Cyril as one of my friends. This, Cyril Smith.
We need honesty in politics today. Straight talking. A bit more of a Christian-like attitude and less of the slanging.
Do not fear.
Yeah, that's Cyril Smith. How about some honesty, Howard Sykes? Why are you gerrymandering the council meeting with these nonsense motions? What is the Labour Party and the council have on you and your party? Because it gets worse. It gets much worse. Here's David Steele. Remember the leader at the time? is referenced. He has had to quit the Lib Dems after the abuse inquiry report found that he abdicated responsibility by failing to confront Cyril Smith. This is the bit I'm going to highlight. It's not me saying this, remember. They claim I'm a fantasist and a far-right conspiracy theory peddler and whatnot. Here we go, let me highlight this bit. The report cited, and I want that. Here we go. The report cited Steele's evidence to the IICSA last year when he admitted failing to pass on allegations against Smith, the then MP for Rochdale, even though he believed them to be true. Okay? He knew. He believed them to be true, and he failed to pass them on. And just in case, sorry, you might have missed this window this is the Oldham Cron article. Do you see? Oldham Evening Con, tributes to giant Sir Cyril. And again, the bit I'm highlighting. I regard Cyril as one of my friends. Now tell me again, why are we discussing speed bumps, sexual harassment letters to be written to the MPs, and a letter thanking Marcus Rashford, instead of Brian Hoban's motion, which is to protect and safeguard children in our town from being groomed and gang raped? What's going on? Someone tell me what's going on. This isn't new for this council, is it? Let's be honest. Because this happened last year. And I know I've played it before, but I'm going to play it again whilst I get Debbie up. Because I think this is relevant. It's the first time Debbie Cole came to most people's attention. So here we go.
I'd like to hear this lady's question. So would I. I'd like to hear this lady's question.
Yeah, we have a set agenda to get through, and each item is timed, as you know. It's timed.
5 minutes for my question.
Put that button on last.
Your answer will be on the council website.
Put that button on.
If people continue to impede the progress of the meeting, I'm afraid I'll have no alternative.
Can I ask Deputy Lady Mayor, did you invite your religious person to speak? Because we have hypocrites and parasites here. Hypocrites and parasites. Councillor Sykes, 4 times I have asked through 3 UPA for you to contact me. He is my elected councillor. He has refused to contact me. We also have a Lewis Greenwood, Executive Director, who asked Councillor Sykes to contact me. He's refused. The man sat next to him is Councillor Gloucester. He sat on a panel. He sat on a panel against a member of the public making a complaint. He sat against his mate without declaring a conflict of interest. Corruption. To the leader of the council, you said about members of the public doing all the good work. We do the good work.
Sit down and stop interrupting.
I can't acknowledge you, Lady Murray.
I will adjourn at this point, and he will be removed.
She's child abuse.
Thank you.
My question is, can the council please tell the residents of Oldham why an independent investigation into the historic grooming has not been sorted out and is now being used?
Covering up child abuse. How disgraceful is that?
I don't know. How you doing? Look at this. Don't look at it.
It has been reported to our MP Debbie Barratt-Cole that I, a member of the public, don't want to read on social media the sanction of a murder. I don't want to read it.
Go ahead and shame, lady.
Lewis, as he replied, this is a gentleman that asked for Councillor Sykes to get back to
5 minutes to
4 times.
This is all the cover-up, isn't it, Caroline?
To all the members of the public, we've got lies, deceit, collusion and cover-up at a very high level.
Well, we know that already.
Aye, well, let's keep fighting it for the truth.
Lots of you.
Shame on all those councillors who clapped when the leader. Shame on you all. You forget you were voted in for us. Your overriding duty is towards the public, not to a political party. It's like gangs.
He nearly went to prison, that man there. There he is. All he is fighting. But an apology will go well. You won't give him one.
Yes,
Prepare to go to prison, that man there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to prison.
Yeah, well, so you could tell that.
I'm not disgusted. It's being back.
Even representatively, you don't.
He should back you because you're watching a apology from a councillor because the councillor didn't do his job by helping him. They all get paid to help you. I did for 4 years. That's what I got paid for, to help you. The councillor wouldn't help me.
Not bad, Henry?
Start on Charlotte Green. Do you see Charlotte Green texting there? If you follow her on Twitter, you'll find that Charlotte Green was texting to letting people know that she'll be late home for her tea. Whilst there was outrage that our children were being groomed and gang raped, that's what took place. Now, let's get Debbie on. So I press this button and I do this, and you're there. Yes, look at that.
I'm here. Hello.
Brilliant. Okay. Debbie, fire it. Debbie, had you been to a council meeting before?
Up until that meeting, no, never.
So that was your first ever council meeting, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you went there genuinely believing you were going to be able to ask a question, didn't you? You didn't go there causing bother. They got in touch with you and they said, you're asking a question.
Yeah, no. They, I wrote my question in, they wrote back to me, they emailed me back and they said, do you want to go up and ask your question personally? So I said, yes. I replied back, yes, I do. So they said, that's okay. I got there first. I was the first one in that arena. Before Jackie Stanton, I registered my name first. But they allowed Jackie up. They allowed the two Labour people up.
Oh yeah, we didn't know at we didn't know at the time, did we? But the two Labour Party, the two other questions at the time were, and Sean Fielding stood up and answered them, pretending he didn't know them, and you know, did his theatre in public. They were both prospective Labour Party candidates.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, can you see the parallels? Can you see the parallels of what they're trying to do for Wednesday?
Oh, this last 12 months, what I've seen Oldham Council do, and the tricks that they're using, is absolutely atrocious. And I'll be really, really, really good and not swear tonight, like I didn't swear in the council offices. But I really want to, because they are absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. According to them, I now am a far-right racist, white supremacist.
So the beginning of reference using the race card, and I say this as a Muslim Asian member of our community, was at that meeting when Councillor Sahid Mushtaq, as you were leaving, shouted out to you that you're a racist.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was no interaction in that meeting with you where you'd even mentioned anything to do with race or ethnicity or anything, was there? And the first thing this this shiny shoot-wearing scumbag did was shout out, "You're a racist." Because when a councillor of a senior position says that, it opens the door for everyone else to attack you. And this is exactly what's happened to the Labour Party with the anti-Semitism. When senior Labour Party members allow it, they encourage others. So Syed Mushtaq, as far as I'm concerned, encouraged others by falsely referring to you as a racist. There was, even if you were a racist, there was nothing in that interaction there from which he could have got to that conclusion from. Unless you're from the Nazshah school of race relations, where for the sake of diversity, we should all shut up and let these white girls be raped.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but this white grandma is not going to shut up, and is not going to allow that to happen, I'm afraid. So I'd love to meet Nazshah, actually, because I really educate her in a way that she probably understands.
Keir Starmer's Community Cohesion Minister. She sits in the room with Jim McMahon and Angela Rayner, and they happily entertain her. They don't care about white working class people in our town.
They really don't.
They don't care about any working class people in our town. Forget the white bit. Yeah. No. So go on, Debbie. Tell me what do you you stood after that. After that, you decided to try and become a politician, didn't you? It wasn't at the time. It was after that. It was as a consequence of your experience in the town hall.
Yeah, it was literally that night changed my direction of where I'm going, simply because I saw Oldham Council for what they are. I've written to Jim McMahon, asking him about all the things that you was bringing forward, Roger. I personally emailed Jim McMahon with all the links that you put up, asking him, is this true? If it's not true, what's he going to do about it? If it is true, why did he do it? To this day, I am still waiting a response from Jim McMahon. And what he decided to do now is, because I had the audacity to go up against him in the general election, which I knew I wouldn't win because I don't have the postal vote.
No. Stop right there. You won. You won because you stood against tyranny. And that is the first step in winning anything, is making a stand. And and they ridiculed you and they laughed at you and they did all the things that they do, but you won. Don't ever say you didn't win. You stood against that tyrant, and that man is a tyrant. Remember, to this day, that man refuses to make clear his role in that damning email chain of how the funeral of Lee Rigby was used to cover up news of an active grooming gang in our town.
His response in the paper, I think it was, that he felt he'd done what was right for the community at the time. And I think...
So what was right at the time? Hold on, what does that mean? Right at the time? So in case white people get angry, let's turn a blind eye to the raping of children.
Yeah.
Is that what he said to you? I didn't know he said that to you. Is that what he said to you? Have you? Yeah.
No, he said that in the paper.
Oh, okay.
He said that in the paper, yeah. That, as far as he's concerned, he answered that. And his answer is that he thinks that he did what he thought was right for the community at Rigby's. He felt that he made the right decision in allowing our children to just go ahead and continue to be raped. That's okay for him. In his mind, he did the best that he could do. That's absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous what he did. He knows it. And that's why he won't have a conversation with anybody. He's backing away from everybody. Have you noticed he very rarely now goes on Facebook or Twitter.
It's because he's running and he thinks we'll forget about it. Now, before I brought it to the public attention, and you all knew about it, you just didn't know how to frame it. And the Asian bloc vote is a cartel-controlled, predominantly postal vote that gives him a 10,000 vote head start. In fact, it gives the other one as well, whatever her name is, Debbie Cashmere, a 10,000 voted start. In fact, if I got the figures, if they've released the figures, I would bet that the votes she won by, which is something like 750 votes or something, in the end, I would wager a big chunk of those votes are not only postal votes, the postal votes cast in Kashmir. That's all I'd wager. And I'd happily wager one of my motorcycles, Debbie, because I'm not convinced that, there's postal votes cast from Kashmir that come over that has kept that woman in power. But the pair of them, the pair of these racist party, and I like saying this, sorry, because they've been attacking me for ages. They've been attacking for years. We know who the racists are. We now know who the racists are. The racists are Jim McMahon, Debbie Abrahams, Angela Rayner, proven racists.
Yeah. But yet I've got the likes of Mr. Irish Immy, Dale Cregan's getaway driver.
Oh, he's a knob, isn't he? He's a first-class knob, isn't he?
He is. But he wants to openly, he feels it's his duty to openly, if in public, if ever he sees me in public, to let everybody know that I am a racist bully.
Because he's done, let's be clear, what he's done this is called gaslighting, right? And what he's done is he's not just said that, he's gone and posted that on a number of Muslim forums, potentially radical Muslim forums, right? Yeah. And by posting that on a series of Muslim forums, as far as I'm concerned, it's inciting people to identify you and attack you. And we've all seen what's happened in France over the last couple of weeks. This is what these Islamists want. They want to incite people. I mean, that's why his mate, what's he called, Kasim Lenny, who runs Oldham News and Media, that's why he made reference to me as a gay Christian convert. These people want to incite Islamists to come and behead us.
Yeah. And then we've got Mr. McMahon with his final little trick, which I'm expecting to possibly be arrested this week because it's nearly 12 months since he put his little claim in that, I broke Section 106 of the Pupil Representation Act.
Were you in the police? Sorry, I've forgotten. So much has happened. Were you? Because I remember seeing Paul at the police station. Were you at the police station with me? Were you in a room separate to me, or had you gone in separately?
No, Roger. They got the disabled grandmother in first. I was in for 4 hours.
Oh, well, I was in for 4 hours, but I wanted to be in for longer. I think they I remember laughing, sharing with you. They kicked me out after. They did give me a cup of tea and stuff, but I took it as an opportunity to say my piece, much to their. They couldn't shut me up, but they kept you in for 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours, and I've now got Sergeant Andrew Day on WhatsApp, so I can talk to him whenever I want to talk to him.
I felt for him. I did feel for him. I felt for him.
He's lovely, Sergeant Andrew Day, and his response to what's going on with Oldham, and this is direct quote from Sergeant Day: Oldham is broken.
Well, it's what I've been saying for a while now, isn't it? It's what I've been saying for a while.
Oldham is broken, but the thing is, Roger, I mean, it's coming up to 12 months now. We still don't know what happened to Mark Peel. We still don't know why he left the investigation or the internal review, should we say. We still don't know. And I can also tell you that to this date, as of today...
Hold on, here we go. Hold on. Apparently, Sean has spoken on Twitter today regarding individuals being lined up for criminal charges. So that must be you, me and Paul, or a combination. But again, you know what's worrying about this? What's really worrying about this is the leader of Oldham Council making reference to as though he's a police insider and the police are sharing intelligence with him that he's then using in the public domain. I'm going to put that back up, Mark. Mark, and that's Mark Birchall.
Yeah. The thing is, me and Mark Birchall, me and Mark Birchall, we stood at the end of Sean Fielding Street on Friday night getting our chip at work with Mark. And you know what? We didn't fear him, did we then? So, and if it is that Sean Fielding is getting inside information regarding us being arrested, here's my thing, and I'll say it direct to everybody that's listening here, right? I do not fear you, Jim McMahon. So if you want me arrested for that, bring it on, because I'll see you in court.
And let's be clear on, because I've seen some of what they were trying to arrest you for, press charges for. You allegedly said something on Facebook, yeah, which is Section 106 of the Representation of People's Act, yeah? And I don't know if it was something you said directly or whether you shared something I'd said. But the issue was, Debbie, when you said that, it was outside of Purdah. It wasn't even during Purdah. Now, this is the council who suddenly are interested in Purdah, and that's the month leading up to an election when certain rules kick in, right? Jim McMahon was the councillor in charge when they sold Glodic baths during Purdah. So if they understand that saying things or doing things in the lead up to an election can have an adverse effect, they clearly understand that by going to the police and trying to have us arrested. Yeah. So if they clearly understand that, what on earth are they doing selling, undervaluing and selling Glodic baths to an organisation with declared links to Arud Shah days before an election?
There you go. There you go, Roger. It's obviously one rule for them and then a different rule for every other contestants. It's one rule for them. They could do what they want during Purdah, but woe betide any other person that's standing in the general election. Woe betide if they so much as blink in the wrong direction.
And I know the racists tune in to listen to this, yeah? You know, the racists in the Labour Party, so we're clear, we know who the racists are. They're not Moyeb, who's the secretary at the local mosque. You know, it's Moyo, it's the racists in the Labour Party. We know you're listening. If the police charge me, you do know this goes to court. And when it goes to court, I'm going to be calling every one of you as witnesses. Yeah. Every one of you. Because I don't care if I end up in prison. But I'm going to make sure every one of you is made to answer for what you have done to our town.
Yeah. And I second that. I don't want to go to prison, but if that's the case, it is. But that's how much I am passionate about what is going on within Oldham and the children in Oldham. And I'm so passionate about that. And I really, really am. Because you know what? Our children from every community deserves better than what they're getting, because they are not being safeguarded by Oldham Council. They're not. They're not being safeguarded at all. And it's really, really unfair, and it's unjust that our children from every community are not being safeguarded, and they're not. And they deserve to be. And why would you come forward and tell people about what's going on when the police, have you seen the report that's been just today, how many cases that the police have just gone, we'll throw that one away, no case to answer, we'll ignore that. How many children have been ruined and their lives ruined by not being safeguarded and by Greater Manchester Police not doing the job? It's got to stop. And Oldham needs people now to come forward and say, I'm brave enough now, and I know that I've got support, and I'm going to come out and tell the truth, because they have got the support now, 100%.
No, I agree with you, Debbie. I mean, my life has been, I've had a challenging few years at the best of times with everything else that's gone on, which, I'm now on the other side of, thankfully, but it's at some point you've got to stand up for yourself, haven't you? You've got to stand up for people around you. And even if you take a hit, it doesn't matter. You've got to stand up. Now, which brings me to and it is my support for Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. I'm a supporter of them. I've come to a few meetings and watched you guys, and I've shared my two penneth, and I admire you, and I admire anyone who stands up for our town. Now, you decided to become a politician, and you joined up with Paul Boots, who I've had on a couple of weeks ago. I'll get Paul back on at some point like this, where we can actually see his face and that. But you're standing, aren't you? And you're standing in Medlock Vale. Now, Debbie, Medlock Vale is cartel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the councillors in Werneth, in Coldus, in St Mary's, in Medlock Vale, those 4 wards are cartel central. Then there's Alexandra, where there's, and there's also North Chadderton, where they've expanded to. So, we've got pretty much 6 wards in Oldham that are controlled by the cartels. So you're going up, but you're going up there because you live there. You could have easily stood in Royton or Chadderton or in a ward with a substantial white population and the absence of cartels. You could have stood in one of those wards. For instance, your colleague Mark is standing in Royton. You could have stood in Royton against Howard Sykes on an anti-paedophile agenda. You could have stood in one of the Saddleworth wards. You could have stood in, you could have stood in one of the Failsworth wards with the Failsworth Independent Lot or Hollingwood. Where the cartels aren't powerful, where the Asian Bloc vote doesn't have the influence it does in. But you have decided you're standing in the community where you live.
Yes. It's important for me to stand where I live. And it's important for Pride of Oldham as well, and Saddleworth as well. You stand where you live because you care about where you live. And I do. I care about Medlock Vale. I care about Fitnell and Bardsley and Abershaw and Colpit Lane. I care that there's children walking over Colpit Lane with no pavement, walking head on in front of cars. I care about that. I care about all this fly tipping that's going on all over the place. I care about the children that are being groomed. There's vulnerable children even in Medlock Vale, and I care about those people. And I care about I care about that. So for me, it's about standing where you live. And yeah, I'm going to stand against Atiq Rahman. He's very much a Labour. He's been mayor. He's going to be very popular. But the thing is, they're also relying on that people won't go out and vote, because let's have it said, a lot of people don't. They can't be bothered with it.
Right. I mean, that's why they get in, because the Asian population in Oldham is so small, but the turnout is so high, and the turnout is coordinated. Forget whether it's legal or illegal, but the turnout is coordinated. Yeah, it's a block vote. Yeah, over 90% of them vote for Labour, unless there's a dispute between the clans, and then they'll go and vote for an independent and split the vote that way. But what you've now got is a small minority have, controlled the town, and the cartels control the town because they control that small minority. Because, unfortunately, the majority of working class white people don't vote. And the reason they don't vote, Debbie, so we're clear, it's not because they're apathetic or because they don't believe in democracy or they're lazy or any of that. The reason they don't vote is because they have no one to vote for. They would rather stay at home than vote for the Tories historically in this town. So the Tories don't get the votes because this is a historical Labour town, and working class people would rather not vote than vote Tory. And as we found out, every now and then the racists come along and try and stir it up, and they never win. And they never win because, again, the working class people in our town are not racists, and they can see through the racist narrative. And even when these people pretend that they're championing them and on their side, they still won't go out and vote for them. It's not because they're apathetic, it's because they've had no one to vote for. And until you guys have come along with proud, and you're proud of the areas you come from, and you understand, we will stand where we live, and we'll stand for the people where we live. Yeah, whether we win or lose, because it was very clear to me. I was sat in that meeting with you guys, and I was watching on, and I'm thinking, why does this woman want to stand in Medlock Vale when she could easily become a councillor standing in a predominantly white ward, which is what loads of Labour councillors are. Tory councillors and Lib Dem councillors in this town are. And you said no.
I've been asked many times, please will you stand in Hollingwood? Please will you stand in Chadderton? I've been asked, people have asked me many, many times, will you come to Royton and stand in Royton? Do you know what? I'd love to support all those people, and I will support those people with my other Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth candidates, independent candidates, because if you all vote for them, we're all a team then. But we're independent, and we don't have a whip. Nobody's going to tell us who to vote for. We might all be like, well, hang on a minute, I want £20,000 for Bardsley, and somebody else might want £20,000 for Royton, so we might have to do a bit of a negotiation going on.
Or you just have £50,000 each and get rid of 2 council press officers that is hired that you don't need.
Yes. Well, there is that. If we was elected, where we'd definitely be sorting out the financial side of things. 100%. 100%. We won't be allowing this 8 million every month going out of the borough. We spend it in the borough. You know,
Well,
let's start building the local economy.
I think.
Talking of local economy, has anybody yet found out how much we pay for spindles?
What do you ever guess? I mean, if I was to guess, I would say I bet Sean Fielding doesn't even know. It'd be my guess. Someone would have told him, stand in front of this lad. We bought a shopping centre, and he would have, put his, made sure his trainers weren't didn't have any dog muck on them, and he would have stood and done his nonsense because you can tell he's not in charge. You can see he's not in charge. Someone else is pulling his strings, and that's I don't dislike Sean Fielding. I pity him, if I'm honest with you, because it's obvious to me that he's just a moron. He's there. He's been put into a position and power's got to his head, and he doesn't even realise he's not the one in charge. He's going to be made a scapegoat because of his stupidity. Because when the grooming gangs were doing what they were doing, he was in school. Lad was in school. Yeah.
So when Sean Fielding was elected leader, I actually went to that. That was actually, I tell a lie, and I do. When I tell a lie, if I'm mistaken, I hold my hand up. I did go to his full meeting. That was the first one I went to, and I went with Mark Birchall, and we had a word with Sean Fielding outside of the chambers. And I actually said to Sean Fielding the day this was his very first full council meeting, and I said, I've got a lot of high hopes for you, Sean. I said, because you're the younger end now, and I'm hoping that you're going to turn this town round and get this town back on track. And he said, oof, that's a big ask. And that is what Sean Fielding said to me. So I tell a lie, the last year, the 6th of November, was not my first meeting. I went when Sean Fielding was elected. That was my first meeting.
Okay. It's the first time he tried to ask a question, though, wasn't it? It's the first time he submitted a question and tried to ask a question, yeah?
I went up about fly tipping, and Mark Birchall asked the question. And we asked it about why were our elected councillors for the wards not answering emails, not answering phone calls, and not dealing with anything within the borough that they're elected. In fact, they don't even live in the borough that they're elected. And this is why one of the principles for Pride of Oldham and Saddleworth is you're going to care for where you live. So that's where you stand. And that's why I won't go and stand in Hollingwood, even though they want me to. And I won't go and stand in Wrighton, even though they want me to, or Chadderton, because I live in Medlock Vale, and I care about Medlock Vale. But that's why we went up that day, and it was about fly tipping in the area. And our 3 elected councillors, all Labour, Yasmin Tor, Atik Rahman, and Mohammed Alias, all 3 of them, they don't live in the ward, they don't come in the ward. The only time they turn up is on Memorial Sunday, Remembrance Sunday, and they bring a wreath. That's the only time we ever see them. Apart from that, they don't answer your emails, nothing. And we tried for 2 years to try and get them to engage, and it's not happening.
I think, I'm really proud of you guys. And I had Mark on the other week. I've had Gary Tarbuck on. And I said, COVID permitting, and however you guys campaign, I'm happy to come and campaign with you and answer questions on the doorstep to anyone, because we're not scared of them. We're not scared of them at all. And I'm happy to knock on every door with you or Gary or Mark or any of the other Proud of Oldham candidates and say, ask me whatever you want. I haven't got a pre-scripted, response. I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me. But what I care about is the grooming and gang rape of our town's children, and that needs to be stopped. And I did not expect this. I did not expect this form of resistance from a council, who next week are going to try and repeat what they did last year to you and gerrymander. Fill the time. And Howard Sykes is complicit in this because the Labour Party can't do this without Howard Sykes, Sam Al-Amdani and all the others' complicity. And they've got not 2, but 3 bizarre questions. It's just unbelievable that these guys are doing that.
Why would they not prioritise it, Roger? Why would they not say, right, we're going to deal with this, we'll get it prioritised, and be the open and transparent that they're supposed to be, because they're not being open and transparent. They're trying to hide it and cover it over. And the thing is, they know that we'll all be sat at home now on our laptops on Wednesday at 6 o'clock and we'll be watching. The only thing is that they're not going to be in the council chambers because they've not been back to council chambers since March.
I have got a grin. I think it's an equally option, really, Debbie. There are two things, really. One is, even if Brian can ask his question and raise his motion, he needs 5 people separate to him to actually vote on it. So even if he got the 4 Tories to vote on it, the reality is all the Lib Dems and all the other Labour lot would vote against, and the motion would be defeated. But they're that scared of showing to the public that they want to hide this, that they would rather avoid the question being asked than vote it down.
Yeah.
That's where democracy in Oldham has got to. The council are that scared of being seen to stand against it, they'd rather not answer the question, which is exactly what they did with you. They walked out twice. Right?
Yeah.
They walked out twice.
They was arresting me. They was more than happy to arrest me. They was more than happy to manhandle me. PC Graham, whatever he was called, was quite happy to say, I'm not frightened.
I have his video somewhere, and and it's disgraceful. In fact, let me play it. Let me just play this because it is absolutely disgraceful. Just give you a breather, maybe have a cup of, get a glass of water. But let me play this because it is disgraceful.
Please do. You can speak to me. You don't need to speak to Seth. You don't need to speak to me separately.
You are being asked to leave. Okay.
And I don't really need to leave because this is...
Okay. But if you're causing an issue...
I'm not.
You do have to leave. If I've been told you're causing an issue, you do have to leave.
Right.
I won't have a problem with physically removing somebody from this forum. I personally won't.
Right, okay.
So I can be nice.
Big enough to do it.
Time being, or we can go out nice and calm.
For a council and get policing to threaten you.
Okay. Well, you've obviously caused a bit of an issue. Alright.
I haven't just asked a question.
Is this your partner?
No.
Okay, right. Is he with you?
She didn't cause an issue. Here with me.
Right, okay.
I can bear witness to that.
There you go. Do you see that? Absolutely, they're just disgraceful, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah, they are. And then he went out and had a word with them, and it was everything's changed, and they could see that I weren't causing trouble, but he was more than happy. You heard him say.
So you know what happened, don't you? I mean, and let me explain what had happened. Was when they first worked out in the background, you could see Rebecca Boobgate Sutcliffe, the disgraced former police officer, trying to flex her muscles and trying to direct the police. Yeah. Which is exactly what Sean Fielding is trying to do to this day, trying to say arrests are imminent and all the rest of it, yeah? These councillors, these politicians and their officers, they think they control the police. I mean that, in all of it, that genuinely worries me, Debbie, because I've seen that happen when the government used to send me to places. I've seen that happen in countries where people disappear in the night.
Mm.
And these politicians think, and sorry, Rocky, I'm going to put this up, Rocky, because you need to understand, and Rocky, I like Rocky Carey, but no, the other police officer was nice, to be fair, isn't what happened, Rocky. It's they play it that way. One, they're designed where one is aggressive, and one is seen to be placating it, and it's done that way. It's intentional, but that bloke was aggressive. You could see he was aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't move, did you? You weren't for moving, were you? You weren't for moving.
No, I won't move because if I'm wrong on something, I will hold my hands up and say I apologise and I'm wrong. But I knew I weren't wrong, and I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, and all I wanted to do was ask one question.
That they invited you in to go and ask.
They invited me in. Yes, exactly. They invited me in. They asked me would I like to go in and ask the question, and I said yeah. One question, and they wasted over an hour and a half.
Here's Sarah Silton put this up, and I think that's about right. Oldham Lib Dems equal Labour, managed by Fielding and crew, ordered to keep their mouth shut. Sarah, yeah, I think I agree with you, Sarah, but my issue is, Sarah, and this is the the point I've been trying to reference all this time. What have they got on the Lib Dems?
Do you remember, Roger, when I was at that meeting, on the second time that they came back in and they decided that they were just going to completely ignore me?
I was watching on Facebook. So I was watching on Facebook at like thousands of other Oldhamers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't go anywhere now without being recognised, but that's another story. But I actually heckled, if you like. I shouted to Howard Sykes, did you not write into Councillor Fielding to ask about this independent investigation? Do you not want to know about this independent investigation? Do you not want to hear this question? And he completely blanked me. Completely blanked me. He just carried on talking.
So I have friends in Shaw. Who send me messages of goodwill all the time, and what is this infatuation in Shaw and Crompton with the Lib Dems? Why are they voting these people in? Is it because they didn't? Is it just because it was anyone but the Labour and they weren't Tories, so let's vote for them?
Possibly.
Possibly. Because how can you now vote for Howard Sykes? How can you now vote for Howard Sykes when he's done this? And I'm going to put something up, Debbie, on the screen, if you don't mind. And I want you to comment on it, all right, as well. So if this works, you should be able to see my screen now.
Yeah, I can see your screen, your lovely bridge.
Okay, and I am doing that. And then I want to do this. You can see that? Howard Sykes, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was Howard Sykes' statement. I was reminded of it the other day by that numpty who, if I could ever be bothered, I'd sue him. But I'd prefer to, what's he called? Willabooby's sidekick, Ewan, whatever he's called, who lives in Didsbury, who's a Lib Dem member himself or something. He's been ranting and raving on Oldham,
Ewan
whatever.
Stewart, is it Ewan Stewart?
He's been ranting and raving as to why, why the people of my town support me and backing Wilby up on his latest nonsense. Apparently, because I was born in Bradford, that somehow I'm not from Oldham. My opinion shouldn't be.
I'm sorry, Raj. You might have been born in Bradford, lad, but you're an Oldham lad. You were raised in Oldham. You were raised
everywhere I've worked around the world, and people have asked me where I'm from, Debbie, I've always said I grew up in Oldham. I'm from Oldham, and and you can see
you're an Oldham lad.
I've not changed my accent. I've not changed my accent or any of those things because I am from where I am from, and these people are getting more and more desperate. Anyway, he reminded actually you did me a favour, lad, because I'd completely forgotten about Howard Sykes' statement. So after I released Rod Blythe, and remember at the time, no one knew about Rod Blythe, and I released it with evidence. They call me a fantasist and say I never have any evidence. Rod Blythe, convicted child sex offender, 10 years on the sex offenders register, was an Oldham Councillor at the time. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, they all hid it. The statement issued follows recent comments on social media and follows the original one made in December 2017. On the 7th of September 2017, Rod Blythe was suspended from the Liberal Democrat group of Oldham Council following information that he had been arrested. The suspension was immediate and continued whilst GM police conducted their investigation. This is the first bit where Howard Sykes... this is the first bit where Howard Sykes comes across in the Sean Fielding school of I'm cleverer than the people of my town. The Liberal Democrat group has never been informed by GM police of the nature or details of the allegations involving Mr. Blythe, and this has remained the situation to date. Notice how he talks in the third person, the Liberal Democrat group. He doesn't say what he knew. He doesn't say what other Liberal Democrat councillors knew. Yeah? No. What he references is the Liberal Democrat group. This is political speech.
He did reference in the other thing, Raj, that you highlighted before, how he'll be missed, especially in his charity work.
He's also owned up that he's a friend. Like Cyril Smith was his mate. He's also owned up as his friend. Yeah. And then he also talks about the Liberal Democrat group on Oldham Group was informed that Mr. Blythe had resigned for personal reasons. Informed by who? Who informed the Liberal Democrat group? Ordinarily, it'd be the leader of the Liberal Democrats would have gone and told the rest of them, wouldn't he? So,
Well, Rob Blythe would have gone to Howard Sykes and said,
No, Rod Blythe, to the best of my, to the information I've got, was at the time when he resigned from his hospital bed after a failed attempt to kill himself.
Well, yeah.
So, Howard Sykes, in all of this, and see these four sentences, yeah? That's his statement, 4 sentences.
Yeah.
Refuses to deny what he knew personally. Don't you, Howard? You refuse to deny whether you knew what your mate had been charged for. You refuse to deny if you knew what your mate had been convicted for. You refuse to deny if the police questioned you or other Liberal Democrat councillors. Because I'm sorry, Debbie. Let me try and present this.
I know Rob Blythe was on the planning committee, but he was a local elected councillor. What contact? Now, Howard Sykes has never.
Sorry, say that again.
Howard Sykes has never put a statement out to say what role Rob Blythe had at the council. I know he was on the planning committee, but what else did he do? How do we know that he weren't another Cyril Smith with keys to other charities? I'm not saying he did, but what if he had keys for children's homes?
Was the council investigation into Rod Blythe to provide the people of this town with the reassurance that Rod Blythe did not have access to this town's children?
Could have had keys for Marion Walker, for all we know.
Well, he was a councillor for 20 years, 25 years?
Yeah. What schools did he go into? What schools was he on committees of? What contact did he have with children? Howard Sykes knows exactly what Rob Blythe was doing, and he must do. And the fact that he's keeping quiet and not putting any statements out, and the fact that he wants to
he put that statement out. He put a statement out that took the people of our town for fools.
We're not. And now he's
so this is my thing, right? And Moyab's already said hello today, so I know Moyab's watching it. Moyab is the secretary of the local mosque, right? Say, for instance, hypothetically speaking, one of Moyab and my friends was arrested as a jihadist. He was preparing acts of terrorism and had used some chapati flour or something to make a bomb, and he'd been caught. Say that had happened. I would fully expect the police to come and interview me. Yeah. And I'd fully expect the police to come and interview Moyab. And I'd fully expect during the course of that interview for the police to disclose the reason why they were interviewing me. They knew. And the press knew. Charlotte Green and her mates knew. And when it finally broke, do you remember what she did? And her mates did? He didn't download it on the council laptop. That was the headline. Rubbish. It doesn't matter. He was a sex offender. Yeah. There's someone, and it's not even confirmed. Someone in the council, an unnamed source in the council, told us he didn't download it on the council, and they published that. Like, oh yeah, how do you know? How do you know?
I don't believe that. I believe that's rubbish. Yeah. I believe that's rubbish. Labour councillors knew what Rob.
Well, Jean Stratton was the leader of the council at the time. CAROLYN Wilkins was the chief executive at the time. The police must have told them as part and parcel of the investigation.
They would have done. Because they would have had to safeguard. Because if they didn't, well, then they've not safeguarded any children that he's been in contact with.
Yeah. Sorry, Susan McCarthy Morris has just posted. So this new feature on my, this is a new feature. So I'm a geek, you all know I'm a geek. So the new feature on this app I use, when you post, your avatar comes up, so I get to see a picture of you. This wasn't happening last week or the week. Sorry, Debbie, it's just me being a geek. So apart from Paul Boots, for some reason, he's not approved his whatever, and every time he comes up as a Facebook user, but afterwards when I look, it's usually Paul Boots. So he's still Mr. Facebook user. No, they knew, didn't they, Debbie? And so, this, I mean, back to the serious stuff. They've been proven to protect paedophiles. Because hiding news of a councillor who's a convicted sex offender, in my book, and I'm sure in the book, in the views and opinions of most people, most decent people, is they hid news of a paedophile from us.
Yeah.
So they are proven racists and proven paedophile protectors.
Yeah. And proven groomers, allowing grooming going on. Yeah. It's just, it's ridiculous. Oldham Council have got absolutely ridiculous. And so what they're doing now, they're attacking people, calling them far-right racists, hoping that they're going to get intimidated by, bringing the police to the door. Do you know what? I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm going to stand up for my ward, and I'm going to stand up for the people. I'm going to support every child or every adult that's been groomed and raped in Oldham that needs support, and I'm going to do that. And they ain't going to shut me up, Raja. They ain't going to shut me up.
No, and the Pakistani, and it is a mainly Pakistani block vote in Medlock Vale. Who are you up against? Yeah. Who are you up against? Atika Rahman, okay. Well, block vote turns out for him every time.
Yeah,
block Asian vote turns out for him. High postal votes.
Yeah, I'll be putting
the only way you're going to win. The only way you're going to win is by the good people of Medlock Vale, who have voted Tory in the past, or Lib Dems, or never voted at all.
Or never vote for you.
Because that Asian block vote isn't going to change sides, Debbie.
No.
It's been rewarded and rewarded well. For generations, it's been rewarded and rewarded well.
I question that though, Raja. Because what rewards have they got?
Well, the cartels have got rewards. I don't know about the people underneath, but the people underneath also live in fear, Debbie. They also live in fear.
Yeah,
I grew up in Westwood. I grew up in Calder. I still go over. Not as much now because of COVID and stuff. But the last time I was sat outside, and I'll share this with you. I was sat on you have those houses, the nicer houses where because I grew up in a terraced house and it came straight out into the street. And the nicer houses had a little front little garden with a little ledge that you sit on. Yeah. So my friend Mobby lives on Plato Street, number 5 Plato Street. And his mum, I went to infant school with him. So Mr. Neil Wilby and his mates who said my formative years were in Bradford. Actually, no, I started infant school in Infant 1, the same as every other kid I grew up with. Many of them are still my mates and posted near. But Mobby's a friend of mine. His mum's actually my cousin because I'm the product of a second marriage. So my nephew and I went, our second cousin and I went to school together. And I'm sat outside his house because I've been round to see his mum, but I've not gone inside. And with my, and she'd give me a mug of tea, and I'm sat outside, and I'm chatting away to her while she's inside. And about a dozen people would have walked past me, and all of them talked to me about how I am saying the things that they are too scared to say. They can't say.
Yeah.
They can't talk about the cartels. They can't talk about the dodgy dealings with the community centres and the community organisations and the buying of buildings and the awarding of grants to secret certain groups and the prioritising we found out from Abdul Haq a couple of months ago, who's still in hiding, about the 4 or 5 businesses in one terraced house who all got £10,000 each, and these people, they get the money, but the rest of them don't, because that neighbourhood, and I grew up in that neighbourhood was better 30 years ago than it is now.
Yeah.
It was cleaner. It was safer. It was Yeah.
I'm the adopted grandmother to two little Bangladeshi boys. I'm their adopted grandma. But I'm a far right racist according to Sean Field and everybody else. But I'm actually adopted grandma, and and they're absolutely beautiful. And I've got great friends in Calder.
Karen Dickinson's just put something up.
As well.
I worked in the old Coppers Community Centre. It was on it was like 2 terraced houses on the left. These people, they don't understand. They don't understand our history and our legacy to our town. Karen's just put something up. He never ever comes to Fitton Hill. Karen, that's because they don't need to. They've got you cornered with you guys. They know you guys don't vote. Not enough of you will go and vote for the far right because you're not racist. So none of you will vote for Tory or Lib Dem, so you don't vote. And that's why they never come onto Fitton Hill. It suits them. It suits them that only the Asians vote, or mainly only the Asians vote.
I was the only one that went on Fitton Hill in the general election. They all turn up outside Hilltop Surgery, though, and the library for a photograph.
Here's Howard Wild. Howard Wild is a pseudonym for someone else. I've spoken to him offline, so I know he's true. I work for OMBC and get scared for my job. Because they've all been told They've all been scared off at the town, at the Civic Centre. Dr. CAROLYN WILKINS is currently seconded to some national job. Dr. CAROLYN WILKINS, you do understand, because I know she listens, or Boobgate listens, and the news relays back to him. You do understand that the day I end up in court, you're going to be called to court. It doesn't matter you've got a CBE. It doesn't matter what sort of hat you want to wear. You will be called to court. And the entire dossier of evidence I've got and I've released into the public domain and others have released will be presented for you to comment on. No wonder you're running off to some... Debbie, what do you make of this? CAROLYN WILKINS, 2 days, 3 days a week, yeah? Seconded, yeah?
Yeah.
So that means 2 or 3 days a week she's doing someone else's job. And we all know that a chief exec, that strategic role, it's one job, isn't it? You can't do 2 jobs or 3 jobs. It's just one job, right? But if you're the chief executive and it's such a vital role where you are being paid £200,000 a year, 10 times more than most people in the council, and 10 times more.
More than the Prime Minister.
Right, yeah, more than the Prime Minister. And you're on secondment. Who's doing your job whilst you're away? And if no one's doing your job whilst you're away, what job were you doing in the first place?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Vote proud of Oldham and Saddleworth, and we'll soon sort that out for you guys.
Well, you wouldn't have that, would you? You wouldn't have these jobs. I mean, Helen Lockwood arrived in Oldham disgraced, where a national investigation...
You made a job up for her.
You know, a national investigation had exposed her. You know, a government investigation, not me. A government inquiry had exposed her dodginess. Rebecca Sutcliffe, what? Was she kicked out of the police? Gross misconduct? What was that?
She liked to expose her breasts. I don't know why, but she did. And so she had to leave the police force. Funny thing is, her father was a lovely vicar at St Paul's Church, and he christened my children.
Yeah, I know him. Sorry, I made the mistake of calling him Jeremy. It's not. It's Howard Sutcliffe. I know him. Howard Sutcliffe ran the Werner and Freehold project. I used to borrow his minibus to take kids away.
Lovely man.
Yeah.
Lovely man.
Yeah.
He looks like a dad. I bet he was a bit embarrassed when all that happened.
I'm sure he would have been. I'm sure. I don't think.
Who does that? Who does that? Leaves the police force and then walks right into another job with all that money?
Over £120,000 for a made-up job, because it was made up specially for her. Yeah, and she was using the title of her job even before she was interviewed for the job.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. For Oldham Council. And, well, I'd like to say I'm paying her wages, but I still haven't paid my council tax.
Oh, no, you know my opinion on that. Yeah, my opinion on that is I don't think that's a fight. You should be because my issue with that is they'll stop you from standing through it. They'll time it in such a way where you'll end up in court and they'll try and stop you from standing.
I'll probably pay it in March.
As long as you pay it. Right, next thing, I'm going to put this up. Mark put this up. Another one from Wilby. Thanks. You know, he's done us a favour, actually, as Neil Willaboobies. He confirmed...
the Yorkshire malicious blogger. Yeah.
The malicious blogger.
The Yorkshire malicious blogger.
He's done us a favour. Because he confirmed that Jim McMahon wrote a letter for Irish. I couldn't get that from anywhere, but he confirmed it, right? Now, I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. But how can the MP for Oldham write a letter in support of the getaway driver of a cop killer, of an Oldham cop? Why is that?
Not funny, but I've even emailed
it beggars belief, doesn't it? It beggars belief.
It does. It does. I emailed Jim McMahon and asked him that question. I'm still waiting for that response as well. But I've had it confirmed now from the Yorkshire malicious blogger, so I'm all right. Just like Ashley Derrico confirmed that Shabir Ahmed worked for Oldham Council, because we was asking that question as well, weren't we?
Well, you were asking the question. I wasn't. I was happily stating my reputation and my livelihood that Shabir Ahmed was a former employee of Oldham Council. You know, I came out because I checked my sources, and they came from the highest sources in Oldham Council. I checked my sources in the community who confirmed it. And they're still hiding, aren't they? They're still hiding. 1 year on, they won't even confirm that the most notorious grooming gang leader in this country, the most notorious grooming gang leader in this country was an Oldham Council employee. Now ask yourself, why would you hide that? Because I can only think of one reason why you'd hide that. It's because he was accessing children during his time employed at Oldham Council. Yeah. I can think of no other reason as to why you would hide that, because you would want to reassure me and every other resident in Oldham that even though he worked for the council, that he did not have access to children whilst working for the council. You would produce the report of the investigation you did at the time and say, here you go, in 2013 or 2012 or 2011 or whenever it was, once we found this out, we ordered an immediate internal investigation, and this is the report. Where is it? Where is it? You didn't do it, did you? You hid it. So why did you hide it?
This is it. We find out all this marvellous information from Granada Reports after I'm doing interviewing Sam. And can I just add that to this day, she's still not been interviewed for the investigation. She's still not been.
So she's still. I mean, you know, and so we're clear, Debbie. And I didn't want to bring it up. You brought it up. I've not done anything wrong to this young woman. I distanced myself once she linked herself with Irish Immy. Yeah. I distanced myself to protect her.
We both blocked Irish Immy the same day because another person brought us into a conversation, and I blocked him, and you blocked him the same day. But I've been looking after Sam. I've been helping Sam. I've been supporting Sam, and she's gone through a real time, and she really has. Yeah. But Roger, no, you haven't. But you did distance yourself from her because of the links with Irish Immy, and I don't blame you, because I haven't distanced myself from Sam because I've been supporting her, and look what I've been getting from Irish Immy.
Yeah, and so we're clear. She is specifically referenced in the terms of reference.
She's not been interviewed.
And 1 year later, she's still not been interviewed. Well, I've got a bombshell I'm going to release. I think I'm trying to work out when to do it. I might do it before the council meeting on Wednesday, just to add
love
pressure.
Your bombshells, and I love Morgan's weather reports.
Well, Moyab needs to do a weather report on this.
He's a bit slow on this weather reporting. In fact, I think somebody else is trying to pinch his job.
Yeah, I think it was.
Somebody else trying to pinch your role, Moyab. I think you better step up, mate. Love you, Moyab.
And it was he was what was he now? Yeah, I've got something on Tuesday that will absolutely destroy any last vestige of authenticity or to this investigation. I've got something that I shared with some of my patrons a couple of weeks ago, but I've got the full dossier and I've got the permission from the victim. Yeah, I got the permission from her on Sunday night, and what took place is just disgraceful. And I've got all the paperwork. I've got the council letterheaded paper and everything out. I've got to put Moyab up. Too many Weathermen nowadays. Yes, indeed. Too many Weathermen.
Yeah.
So,
you're the main one, Moyab, though. You're the main one.
He's cycling a lot, isn't he, at the moment? I see all these pictures of him cycling.
Fantastic.
He'd make a councillor, for you proud of, guys, but I don't think he'll ever stand. He did 3 stints. He did 3 terms as a Lib Dem, didn't he? And he's loyal, even though they've investigated him.
I'd love for Moyab to come and stand for proud of Oldham and Stafford, because he's absolutely marvellous. I would absolutely love it if he stood. In fact, I'd even beg him if he wants. In fact, I'd even buy him a breakfast and not try and make him smile if he would stand for proud of Oldham and Stafford.
People who follow Moyab will know he likes to put his very early morning posts up with his breakfast shots.
Yeah, and he never smiles. He always does this.
I don't know about the... so someone's... Neil Wilby mentioned Raja not being born and bred in Oldham. Well, actually, not being born and bred in Oldham. What constitutes being bred in Oldham? I moved to Oldham and I have no answer over where I was born, which brings me to... It's a ridiculous question, because the only time I'd ever heard it before was in a queue in New York. Now, Moyab was in the queue in front of me, and we're in New York. We had some meetings with with some of the organisations post 9/11, yeah? And Moab was in front of me in this queue. And the guy pulls him, Moab turns back and looks at me because the American security guy, 9/11 happened and they were cautious. They were cautious about anyone and everyone, and that's fair enough. But the question was so ridiculous that Moab looked at me and I'm just laughing behind him. Moab was born in Bangladesh. So the guy, the passport control guy, sternest face possible, and he's asking him questions. And one of the questions was, why were you born in Bangladesh? So Moab looked at me and I just laughed at him and I said to him, you're on your own, lad, because I was born in Bradford.
Bless him.
Yeah. So that was the only time I came across that. But no, these guys are but you've got, Proud of Oldham have got ethnic minority candidates. One of your first ones, a beautiful lady. Every time I ever see her, she's got a massive smile on her face. Yeah.
She's beautiful, Amoy. She makes the most amazing food, and you can get it outside the market hall, and it's absolutely beautiful. And she's absolutely beautiful, and she's got the biggest smile and the biggest heart. And my heart goes out to her because Mark was poorly. I hope he's feeling better. Her husband, but Amor, yeah, she makes the most amazing food just outside the market hall.
Well, I don't really venture, I don't venture out much these days, but
No,
next time I do, I will visit. Right, I want to keep you on. I think I want to keep you on because I've got some stuff I'm going to go through, and you might as well. Now I've got this new mode set up, I can...
Go on then.
Unless you want to be somewhere. No, you're listening anyway, don't you? This is your Sunday night. You're part of the rabble, aren't you? This is your Sunday night entertainment.
I think I'm rabble leader.
Yeah, I have no intention. And I think I mentioned it to a friend of mine this week, and I'm serious now. I know what my skills are. And this isn't my skill, Debbie. I was trained to work with young people. I spend my life working with young people. And the sooner I can go back to working with young people, the better. But there comes a point in your life where you don't pick the fight pics you. You know, and this is where I've ended up. So, and it is killing me. I'll be honest with you. It's draining. It is draining.
Do you know, Badger, everything happens for a reason, and I truly, truly believe that. And I believe that our friendship has grown absolutely amazing, but our friendship has been brought together more because of this.
Yeah.
Because somebody has got to say, actually, enough's enough.
Yeah, and I know I laugh about the racism stuff, but it doesn't stick on me because of my colour. It's harder, isn't it? I mean, it's just, naturally, if you're white, you're on the defensive immediately, and it's designed that way, to put you on the defensive immediately. And it doesn't stick. It just doesn't stick with me.
No.
And no, Proud of Oldham, maybe. Who knows? The way to get to Moab is to get to his wife.
Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. I've got lots of friends in Calder. They'd all support Moab if we stood for Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth.
Let me move on back to the screen, and you can see my desktop again. Yes, and you can see this again. Right, I need to do this and have a look at this. Let me bring it up.
You can hear snoring, by the way. I've got 2 King Charles Cavaliers, and they're both in a deep sleep. So it's not me snoring, it's the dogs. I apologise to the listeners if they can hear the snoring.
Okay, you can see this, yeah?
Yeah.
This is the progress update on the Oldham Review. Now, Howard Sykes asked for this, and I think this was the way of keeping his party members, his councillors on side as well, yeah? And look...
Right.
By staying with the council, with Sean Fielding, we are making progress. And here is the actual the progress update. And you can see the portfolio holder is Councillor Sean Fielding. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the officer contact is Gerard Jones. But the report author is Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore is in for a surprise on Wednesday if I go live on Wednesday, because I have copies of correspondence between Sharon Moore and a victim where her fingerprints are all over dodginess.
Oh my goodness.
And neither the victim nor I actually could work out who Sharon Moore was or what her role was. And surprise, surprise, here her name pops up as the author of this report. And she is the Assistant Director of Quality Assurance. Quality assurance. Right. Let me just close a few things so I can read this. So, oh, what have I done? Okay, I know what I've done. I shouldn't have done what I did. So there you go.
There you go.
Right.
Well done, Raj. You're on the technology. You're doing great.
No, I was
You're
trying to
doing
put a post
absolutely
up. I was trying to put a post up, and I realised I can't drag a post across, because if I put a post up whilst this screen is on, it doesn't seem to like it. Never mind. Okay, I'll put the post ups after I've gone through this. This briefing provides an overview of the support that Oldham Council, and its statutory partners are providing the ongoing independent review into historical safeguarding practice in Oldham, launched in November 19. Okay. Due to the independent nature of the review, we are unable to give an update on its current lines of inquiry or on any findings until the review is complete and the independent review team have reported. This is expected to take place towards the end of the calendar year. How they know when it's expected to take place is when they saying it's independent and they've got nothing to do with it. There's a contradiction there. There's a contradiction there, isn't there? But this is where they start lying immediately. Sharon Moore, you're not telling the truth, sweet, are you? Progress update on the Oldham review into safeguarding practice. Let me find you the first lie. In November 2019, Oldham Council and Oldham Safeguarding Partnership commissioned an independent review into historical safeguarding practice in Oldham. This review was... Sorry, I'm moving it around because I've got something that's blocking me. I'll open them again in a bit. This review was established in response to allegations and concerns relating to child sexual exploitation raised by members of the public on social media. Yeah, I did that.
Wait, we're all barefaced lies, weren't it?
Yeah, barefaced lies, but it gets better. It gets better. This is where Sharon Moore, these people, I don't even think they live in Oldham, or they think because we're common, we're stupid. Yeah. At this time, the leader of Oldham Council, Sean Fielding, and the chair of Oldham Safeguarding Partnership, Henry Giller, wrote jointly to the Mayor and the Greater Manchester Safeguarding Standards Board to request that a dedicated investigation into the effectiveness of the response to historic CSE in Oldham be carried out by the existing independent review team already delivering an assurance exercise in Greater Manchester CSE practice. Sharon Moore, you disgusting, disgraceful woman. At this time... Terrible. What happened first? They launched their own investigation and it collapsed. Why is that not in here?
Where's Mark Peel in that?
Yeah, where's Mark Peel in that? They think we're stupid. Where's Mark Peel in that? Where's the council's collapsed inquiry in that?
Dr. Mark Peel. Where's he in that? And why did he leave? Why has she not reported that? Terrible. We said this from the beginning. We knew from the beginning that this would be a complete and utter whitewash. We know this before they've even got the report out. We know that it's going to be a whitewash, and I know this. I can state this now because they've not even interviewed Sam, and she was one of the main people because of the review. Not even interviewed her. Not even had any correspondence to ask for any paperwork or anything. They've not asked nothing. So how can this be concluding in what, 6 weeks' time? With December? How can this be concluding when they've not even interviewed her?
I don't know.
And they interviewed Kaiser and messed with his report, so that report's been messed about with, and they've not done another interview because they didn't turn up. Then they went with Hughie MacDonald and they messed his about. So how can they be doing that?
I don't know.
If people are hoping that this is going to be really, really, they're going to get to the nitty gritty of it, and they're going to say, yeah, Shabir Ahmed did work for Oldham Council and he did work for Children's Services or whatever it is that he did. And, if they think that's what this report's going to say, and that it's going to expose, about the grooming and what have you, they're going to be disappointed, because this is not going to happen. It's going to be a whitewash, an absolute whitewash. and they know it.
So the starting point on the actual paper going back to the council omits the collapsed inquiry, the council's on collapsed inquiry. Paragraph 1.1 to 1.2 is the first omission. Omission is polite word. I call it it was an attempt to deceive, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's the first thing they did. Now it gets worse. So I'll bring it back up. Sorry, Debbie. I'll bring it back up, and you'll see. I'll get it right. Just give me 1 second. I need to. There you go. You can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The review will focus on historical allegations relating to child sexual exploitation and will consider whether the council, along with its statutory safeguarding partners, provided an appropriate response to protect children. Yeah. 1.4. Or known to be victims of CSE exploitation. The scope of the review includes, but is not limited to, 2011 to 2014. But we've already heard from people that the newsman and his mate led the questioning, and I've heard that from Howard from Huey MacDonald, and this is a former magistrate. So if he felt that it wasn't where the evidence went, it's where the investigators asked the questions. Yeah. And these questions, this evidence wasn't recorded or any of that. But this is where it gets interesting. Ignore all of this. So all of this, background. This is the update report, remember? 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, all the way, carry on. There's nothing new here. All that is, up to 1.9, is just lifted out of a previous report. Yeah, it's lifted out of the terms of reference from over a year ago. Okay? So there's nothing new in any of that. The actual progress update is 2.1 to 2.8. And 2.8 is nothing more than, if you've got concerns, phone this number. Yeah? So there's 7 sentences. After a year, you've got 7 sentences from Sharon Moore. And let me go through these 7 sentences or 7 paragraphs. Since the commencement of the review, a substantial amount of written evidence has been submitted to the independent review team, comprising of minutes, reports, emails, intelligence and performance information relating to the council and safeguarding partnerships response to historic CSE exploitation in Oldham. 2 things there, Debbie, for people who are listening in to take from that. And I'm not being condescending. I'm sure people will get to these conclusions themselves.
But they take from it what they get anyway.
The 2 things to take from it is, first of all, is an admittance of historic child sex exploitation in Oldham, because you wouldn't have all of this information of minutes, reports, emails, intelligence and performance information. Yeah?
Correct.
So it's an admittance of CSE in Oldham. But this more worrying thing, if I'm being investigated by the police, do you think the police would say, all right, lad, hand over the evidence that you want us to investigate you on? So the council have submitted the evidence that they want investigating on.
Yeah. Which takes you right the way back to 12 months ago.
It's a joke, isn't it? So we've been investigated, but only on our terms with what we... Yeah. So that's paragraph 1. Sentence 1, right? Ripped apart.
Yeah.
Let's go to sentence 2. The review team are also undertaking interviews with a number of individuals who have been identified as relevant to the scope and purpose of the review. You've just disclosed to me willingly, without me knowing, that one of the main victims has yet to be interviewed. Yeah.
She's not been interviewed.
These interviews are being conducted virtually through video conferencing due to COVID-19 restrictions. Nonsense. You started your investigation in November. COVID-19 restrictions did not commence until March, April? Yeah?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
The team has interviewed a number of individuals, including current and previous council employees and 1 former councillor. Lie. You interviewed 2 former councillors, one of whom walked away because of the inaccuracies, right? And the
Kaiser.
second one, Huey finally signed it off once you changed your notes to reflect what actually took place in the meeting, right?
Correct.
Right. So straight away, omission, lie, deception, call it whatever you want. It is understood that there remains a relatively small number. How would you understand, if it's an independent review, how many people are left to interview? Right? But there you go. But on 2.2, all of this started with Jim McMahon and was leader of the council and that Lee Rigby email. Yeah?
Yeah.
Why have they not interviewed Jim McMahon? Yeah. Do you see? Do you
Exactly.
see? Do you see?
Exactly.
How can you not interview the leader of the council at the time?
Exactly.
He was the leader of the council at the time. How can you not interview him?
Well, according to him, he did what he thought was right. According to him,
Yeah.
you know, he thought he did what was right for the community. Really, Jim. Really.
Yeah. Ignoring the grooming
Really?
and gang rape of white working class girls. Wouldn't
Well,
surprise
just
me if
ignore
that's
the
what
fact that
he thought it was right, because
said-
he is, sorry, once again, a racist, a proven racist, belonging to a racist Labour Party, proven racists, far right as well, because if you're anti-Semite, you're far right in my book, a far right filthy racist. That's what they are. That's what the Labour Party is. They can dress it up as they want. Proven.
Apparently, that's what I am as well.
No.
So are we all in the same group?
No, we're not racists.
Because I'm not racist.
We know who the real racists are. They're the ones who turn a blind eye whilst that white children are groomed and gang raped.
Yeah.
The council, so there you go. First two ripped apart, yeah?
Yeah.
Sentence 3. The council is continuing to support the independent review team with the identification of other individuals who can contribute to the review, and further interviews are scheduled to take place. Prior to an interview taking place, in accordance with data protection legislation, consent is requested from the individual identified by the review team prior to their contact details being shared, and each interviewee receives a draft transcript of their interview for approval. Ready for this? The council, what that is the council, I have paperwork from Sharon Moore, who's the author of this report, is that they are identifying people through means including the monitoring of my Facebook account and who posts on it.
Okay.
Right? And of course, as we now already know, move on to 2.4, the council is also supporting the review team to make initial contact with individuals who have expressed concerns, either on social media or through other channels. Oh, no, you're not, because already the evidence is the council has, because Sean Fielding is the leader of Oldham Council, and he's acted in his capacity as the leader of Oldham Council. When people have raised concerns on social media, Sean Fielding has written to their employers, calling them far right and racist and trying to get them sacked. Proven. Again, proven. Multiple
Can I just
times
say
proven.
that? Why would we trust this review, right? Because it's under Andy Burnham. And as you know, Andy Burnham was Labour. Well, he's still Labour, isn't he? But he was a Labour cabinet member when that note went out to all police forces, stating, and I went up to Andy Burnham with Sam. Was it the beginning of this year now? Because the year's gone long. And with the paperwork and all the evidence to give to him, he wouldn't take it off me though. But to ask him, why should we trust his review when he sent that, when his team, his cabinet sent out that letter to all the police forces, to these children, and making lifestyle choices.
Lifestyle choices. Yeah, Nazir Afzal was very clear. Let me just carry on. Let me just finish this and I'll bring it back on the screen. Right?
Yeah,
so that's four, that's 4 sentences ripped apart, or 4 points, yeah? The review team are also seeking the views of survivors of CSE who feel able to share their personal experience. It is recognised by all concerned that this requires a sensitive approach. You just shared with me that one of the main victims is still yet to hear from him. Such a sensitive approach, yeah? Real sensitive approach, that's Sharon Moore. And then just the two more
What's
nonsense.
also sensitive is Sean Fielding putting that post out on in the Oldham Times, isn't it?
Oh yes. Oh, that's really sensitive, wasn't it? You know,
That was really sensitive. That calling them all liars.
Yeah. So the day you send your letters out, or when the letters land on the victim's desk, the front page of the Cron is calling them and their families liars, and saying they've made it up. Yeah.
That's really sensitive. That
Yeah,
Sean.
really sensitive,
Good
Sharon.
job,
Yeah.
Sean. Good job, Sean. Yeah.
Only Sharon Moore's got children. You know, you got to think, ain't you? You know, because I can't do this. For no amount of money could I do this. Could I do this? Yeah, absolutely disgraceful. And the last 2 points are nonsense. You know, last 3 points. They've kept a log of people's details. Report will be end of the year and any concerns. So she's written this report is actually 5 points: 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5.
Yeah.
And it's nonsense. Sharon Moore, how much do you think she gets paid? I reckon she's one of those 80 to 100,000 pound bracket at the council.
Well, I hope she hasn't got any children, and I hope that they're never in this position. That's all I can say.
And from my point of view, you know,
she would ever find herself in the position of what a lot of parents are in right now today. Because make no mistake, it's happening today.
Well, that's
we all know
report.
about Ellie Williams. She's in court on the 23rd of November.
That's the report. That is the report going to council. You know, once you strip away all the crap, and the repeated nonsense, there's 6 points. And those 6 points omit key facts. It's a cover-up. It's a cover-up at every level.
Whitewash. We know it. We knew it. We said it. 12 months ago. We knew. We said. We knew.
Gary Tarbuck is on and he's asking people to join Proud of Alderman Saddleworth because, you know, the truth is the rightly or wrongly, and I couldn't do it. You know, I've thought this through. I could never vote Conservative, you know, and the likelihood is I would not vote rather than vote Conservative. It's just, you know, working class people, it's just drilled into us what the Tories were, and particularly people my age, you know, and I couldn't vote for Conservative, but I look at it and I think, okay, Lib Dems, no, they're in the pocket. They're in the Labour's pocket. I think there's something with Howard Sykes going on there. And
there must be. There's got to be. Why would he not stand up and do that?
You need Proud of Oldham. You need, you know, we've spent too long looking to false prophets. Yeah.
I don't know.
We need to look to ourselves.
I don't know you're sleeping at night, lad.
Rocky wants to know what on earth have they been doing for a year? Exactly, Rocky. Do you see that?
Not a lot, Rocky. Not a lot. Not a lot, darling. Not a lot. But hey, I might get arrested next week.
What do these people think will happen? Did these people think we would be scared of being arrested?
I'm not scared.
For what?
I want
for speaking out.
By the way, that's my grandson.
For speaking out about the grooming gangs that are now proven to exist in this town and to have operated in this town. I'm all right.
I don't know how these people are sleeping at night. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how they are sleeping at night. Because I know how this has affected people's lives in a big way. It's ruined lives, and it is an absolute disgrace. That's right, Shula, it is. But we'll wait and see, won't we? The end of the year.
Well, we'll know on Wednesday, won't we, Debbie? Because on Wednesday we will see whether the council has the bottle.
Do you know what he'll do? Do you know if he's listening to this? If he's listening to this, Howard, or watching this, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to stand up and say, "I'm going to stand by and let Brian Orbin stand first and read his motion out."
And then he's going to stand up, and support that motion.
Yeah, and then support that motion. If there's anything about you, Howard Sykes, you will do that, because if you don't, you might as well hang up your councillor boots now, kid. You
No,
might. That's what
I
they
agree.
might well do.
And if Howard Sykes doesn't, then it doesn't matter. Sam Hal and Al-Hamdani, Gloucester, Mr. and Mrs. Gloucester, and all the rest of you, you're all complicit. And every time you stand anywhere, we will be there, and we will be reminding every door you knock on, we will knock on next, and we'll be reminding them what you did to in what is clearly the cover up of the grooming and gang rape of children.
Roger, can I just put a little shout out if you don't mind?
You can do whatever you want.
Thanks. It's just that I'm going to just put a little shout out if people would like to join Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth and support us, if they possibly could. Even if it's, I know they're supporting you, Roger, but if they can support Proud of Oldham as well, because we need flyers, we need banners.
Have you got members yet? Have you set it up where people can join the party, or have you done all of that yet?
We're setting it up this week, and I'm asking if you could donate £1 a week to Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth, that would be very much appreciated. And it will be spent in the borough for the people of Oldham, and I can promise you that. So, and also, if I do get elected, in May, I will try and get a statue of Bobby Ball in Oldham Town Centre, because he was an Oldham lad, born and bred, and I'm devastated that he's passed away this week. Thanks a lot, Roger.
No, it's no problem. I just find it. I find it all remarkable, Debbie. I just find all of it remarkable. Where, all I'm doing is using basic analytical skills to rip apart council documents and saying, are they really getting away with this level of stupidity and this level of, and do they take us all? And clearly they've got away with it forever, haven't they? They've got away with it forever.
What do you say, Roger? What do you say? Do not fear them. Yeah. Do not fear any of them. And the thing is, you don't fear them, and I don't fear them. I'm Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth don't fear them. So we ain't going nowhere.
So you've got what, 6, 7 candidates so far? You've got a few?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
So I've mentioned a few of them. Gary. You've got Gary in Saddleworth. You've got you've got a few, haven't you? Yeah.
Paul in Lees. We've got Amoy.
Yeah, sorry, Paul Shilton's who's been on as well. Paul's a lovely gentleman. Yeah.
Myself. We've got Paul Gordon in Royton. We've got Brian. I forgot his last name. Sorry, he's going to kill me. He's also standing in Saddleworth. So there's a few of them. We've got a few. Yeah, I forgot one. My brain's gone addled. It's past my bedtime, Rajamir. It's 9 o'clock on.
All right. Right. Well, I think I think we're done with you. There's one more thing, but I'll let you get on with your evening, Debbie. Thanks for staying on longer than we talked about. But I thought you'd enjoy you'd enjoy the report and critiquing that report with me, because it's unbelievable. Sharon Moore.
You know what, Raja?
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Listen, I have to say on behalf of the Oldham folk, and you weren't born, but you're bred in Oldham. I'm Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth. We are very proud of you, Rajamir.
No, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed myself, Debbie. I should have done this earlier. I should have pulled my finger out.
You know what, Raja? You've done it now. You're stepping up now, mate, and we're very, very proud of you.
Yeah, I'm grateful. Right, Debbie, I will let you get on. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and good night. Speak to you soon, and we'll carry on just after this little.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Okay, so I've got a couple more things to do, but I'm going to put the chat up so people's chats can come up, and I'm just going to drink the last of my cold coffee whilst if there's any questions, fire ahead before I move on to the last bit. So. I do say it as it is. I'm not interested. I'm in a privileged position in some ways, aren't I? Because I'm not interested in being a politician. I'm not a politician. I don't need to be popular. I don't need votes. I can just say what I want, and people have a free choice, don't they? If you don't want to tune in and listen to me, if you're not one of the 12 or the 14 rabble, well then it makes no difference to me. But Debbie's done well there. I think Debbie's stepped forward, hasn't she? And she, I would rather vote for a councillor like Debbie, and than some polished career politician. Yeah, that's just me. I would much rather vote for someone like Debbie. And it's a shame, really. It's a shame, really, that these council meetings are virtual. I think they're getting away with a lot because these council meetings are virtual, because they wouldn't dare behave this way in front of us. Right. Let's finish with this. Now, cards on the table. I don't like this woman. I've never liked this woman. Angela Rayner. Now, you've all seen Jeremy Corbyn get suspended. And it seems to me there's a civil war in the Labour Party. Now, civil war is we're going to suspend the anti-Semites we don't like, rather than and hide away the anti-Semites or those who've been accused. So this is anti-Semitism in political parties. So these guys are calling for the suspension of Angela Rayner. And I will explain why they're calling for the suspension of Angela Rayner. There's two incidents that they specifically refer to, and I think it's important for people to understand this. This is Angela Rayner, who's an MP for Oldham, who I'm not claiming she's an anti-Semite. Jewish people are claiming she's an anti-Semite, and I've always been of the opinion that if you're a Muslim and you're claiming to suffer from Islamophobia, whatever I think, I will hear your perspective. If you're black and you're suffering racism, if you're a woman and you've suffered sexism, you have every right to express that opinion, because who am I? I've not stepped into your shoes. So if Jewish people are claiming Angela Rayner is an anti-Semite, then my starting point is they have a right to their opinion, and I will listen to what they have, to listen to why they think what they do. And they've got two incidences, and I'll go through these with you. On the 27th of January 2015, Angela Rayner published an article both in the Morning Star, which is this left-wing Labour sort of magazine leaflet. It's like rallying. I don't read it. It's a left-wing nonsense. And the official website of Unison Northwest. Now, the official website of Unison Northwest is not some obscure magazine. And it was entitled Inside the Factory of Genocide. In the article, she describes a visit to Auschwitz. She referenced Norman Finkelstein's controversial work at the Holocaust industry. Now, this is important. Referencing him is a disgrace, because the author, what Finkelstein argues, is that the American Jewish establishment has exploited the Holocaust for political and financial gain. She calls it a seminal book. But the issue here is, what Finkelstein is basically saying is, or alluding to, and it's not me, this is what the opinion of Jewish people across the world, is that he's trying to underplay the Holocaust. It is on a journey to Holocaust denial. This is a step in that, but it gets worse. So this was in 2015. On the 28th of November 2018, it was discovered by Twitter users that Miss Rayner had reposted her 2015 article on Facebook in January 2018 on Holocaust Memorial Day. Now, I know I have Muslims who listen in. So a lot of my Asian friends listening, and others who can't stand me listening. To put this in context, this is like someone posting one of the Charlie Hebdo cartoons. This is like your MP posting a Charlie Hebdo cartoon on Eid. Just so you understand. And this is what the campaign against anti-Semitism analysed it as. They are clear that Ms. Rayner's actions and statements qualify as anti-Semitic discourse. Right? So they are calling her an anti-Semite. I see Dorothy Taylor is back at it again. Bugger off, Dorothy Taylor. Anti-Semitism is not a term thrown about to discredit and demonize those who express legitimate concerns of the state of Israel. And even if it was, an MP should not be engaged in this. The Holocaust industry. Do you see the title? The Holocaust industry. It is a step on the journey to Holocaust denial. It is a work in which Jews are accused of exploiting the Holocaust politically and financially, where many issues concerning the memorializing of the Holocaust have been legitimately aired. They reckon for Miss Rayner to refer to this book is abuse the Holocaust to promote the perception of negative Jewish character traits, namely notions of dishonesty and greed. This trope is now so widespread that in a recent survey, a third of Europeans expressed the opinions that Jews exploit the Holocaust. By describing this book as seminal, in one, therefore, Miss Rayner was endorsing a work which was making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews. Dorothy Taylor is a fake account who came up a couple of weeks ago, and I was kind enough to leave her, and now you're not exercising your right to an opinion, and you know what I'm going to do? I am just going to move this along, click on this, and block you. See ya. You can have an opinion all on your own, sweet. I'm not interested in anti-Semites any more than I'm interested in people who attack Muslims, or any more than I'm interested in people who attack women, or any of that. No. This is your MP. This is an Oldham MP. Now, I know many of you don't think she's intelligent or lacks in intelligence, but I found this latest quote remarkable. It is further reported that in her Facebook post, you can see why Sean Fielding is mates with her, Twitter, now Facebook, Miss Rayner had commented on her visits to the Nazi death camps, saying, "My previous visit was in 2003, and I couldn't help but notice the increased commercialism and tourism related to the Holocaust era in the Krakow region." So she's now claiming that people going on memorial visits were perhaps the parents or grandparents or great-grandparents, or people have died. She's referencing it as tourism. Commercialism, tourism. There you go. One of our MPs, Angela Rayner, stands accused of being an anti-Semite. I think the evidence is compelling. She is an anti-Semite from that, because those statements and reference to that author and that book is a disgrace. Jeremy Corbyn has been suspended. Then why is Angela Rayner not suspended? Is it because she's Keir Starmer's sidekick? Yeah. Hi Nick, how you doing? Yeah, that's my understanding, Nick, is that they have been threatened with their jobs and pensions and all of that if they comment on the current situation, and social media accounts are being monitored. That's my understanding. My understanding there's a specific team in the council that now do this. It's like something out of 1984. Yes, Sarah, Sean Fielding was indeed her agent at the last election. How can the Labour Party receive, this damning indictment, suspend Jeremy Corbyn, but then not suspend Angela Rayner or a whole host of others? There's a list of 15 MPs. They all need to be investigated. They all need to be suspended pending an investigation, an independent investigation. Not Chakrabarti brought back in, who then gets a knighthood or whatever it is, a dameship or whatever, to do a nice whitewash. Yeah, Rayner's flatmate was also sacked from the front bench. Yeah. Describe it as tourism. Or you even referencing the word tourism to a Nazi death camp. And she's not suspended. She's still there. And Debbie Kashmir. Where are you, Debbie? Or is it human rights in Kashmir you just care about? Now, my opinion on Israel is a matter of public record. I'm not a fan of Israeli foreign policy. I'm not a fan of Israel. But I think there's a massive difference between critiquing a government and being prejudiced towards people and stereotyping in that way. I'm not having that. The Labour Party are proven to be racist. And the only reason they've been caught out wasn't them. Their own investigation cleared them. It was a whitewash. Just as the investigation into the grooming gangs, not just in Oldham, but in other places, have proven to have been whitewashes. These people aren't fit to govern. The Labour Party isn't fit to govern. I can't speak about the Conservatives because I'm not a Conservative, but I can speak about the Labour Party. The Labour Party in this guise is not fit to govern. Sean Fielding, Angela Rayner, Jim McMahon, Debbie Abrahams, all of them. With the Lib Dem stooges. They all need to go. Just absolutely disgraceful. I'll put this up. It's what I heard, Sarah, and by now you can decide whether the things I hear have any truth to it or not, but he was being lined up to take over in Rochdale once Tony Lord had been moved on to the House of Lords. So there you go. That's because Yvonne Angela Rayner should be investigated for anti-Semitism. She needs to be suspended. How can you suspend Jeremy Corbyn? How can you kick out Rebecca Long-Bailey for the things they've said and done? And I'm not defending them, but you've got to use the same standards. Because if you use the same standards, then the deputy leader of the Labour Party needs to be suspended. I am done for another week. Thank you all for joining us. I wanted Debbie on board for the 1 year thing, so that's worked. And if Sean's claiming I'm getting arrested or people are about to get arrested, then maybe I won't see you next week. But we'll find out. And I am possibly going to try and do something for Wednesday in the lead up to the council meeting, where I will reveal what I know, which should destroy any last semblance of this inquiry in any way being fit for purpose. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But yeah, thank you very, very, very much. And I will see you all next week. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.